Hey everybody, this is me, the Undead Viking, and this is Quodd Heroes. Quodd Heroes is a game for 2 to 4 people that really kind of defies explanation in a lot of ways. It is a game in which each person is going to be controlling a quad hero, which are represented by these cool little cubes. And they have these cute little faces on them and stuff like that too. But each person will control a quad hero, and depending upon the scenario you're doing, you might have a teammate, you might just be a free-for-all, but you're all going to be rolling around, like not really like rolling the dice, but like basically moving your quad hero around, but also like changing the face of the hero because you're tumbling around. That's what it's called, a tumbling mechanism. You're tumbling them forward, and depending upon the facing of your cube when they tumble, you will enact a power that your particular quad hero has, and then you will use that power to move even further across the board, but it has different types of movement, like jumping or sliding and what have you. Ultimately, what you're trying to do is you're trying to do the most efficient way of movement to achieve your goal, whether it's a race or a collection or what have you. It is a game that, like I said, it's something I haven't played before. I mean, I've played games with movement, I've played games with programmable movement, I've played games that are just straight out race games, but this one just, it kind of just spun a lot of that genre on its ear for me in a good way. So let me show you how the game is played and kind of show you what the maps and stuff look like, and then we'll come back here and we'll talk more about Quodd Heroes. Alright, cool. So this is Quodd Heroes, and I'm just going to kind of show you exactly how the game is played. Now this is the basic scenario that the game comes with. However, the rulebook contains several different scenarios, and they aren't all the same type of game. This one is basically a race, whereas other ones have like cooperative elements and things like that are going on. So I invite you to go ahead and check out the Kickstarter page or check out the game page on Board Game Geek and kind of dive further into the different scenarios that you can use while you play the game. But regardless, this is a modular board. These are pieces that you place down. You get several of these boards with the game. In this case, there are 3 boards, and then there is like a starting tile that's right over there. There is a compass that you might not be able to see, but it's right over there. That's important because sometimes there are certain effects or actions or things like that that will determine like which way is north is important. So just something to keep in mind as well. Now there are some tokens out here, and like the rules actually come with, tells you which boards to place down, and then it tells you where to put certain of these tokens on there. Now the game is modular, as I said, and you can come up with your own scenarios completely and totally. Now, I mean, as I said, there are several within the rules themselves, but you can kind of let your creativity take the best of you. My daughter and I made up our own races and so forth, you know, using the different tiles, and we had a lot of fun with it. But regardless, just talking quickly about some of the things that you see here. The big thing for this one, since it's a race, you will see that there's like a 1 here, and then here's a 2 and 3 and so forth. So this particular scenario is that each person has to get their hero, their quad hero, you know, to checkpoint 1, then 2, then 3, then 4, and all the way back to 5 over there. And I do apologize if you can't see the entire map. This is kind of a longer thing here, and so just bear with me as far as that's concerned. Now, there are some other things on there, like you'll see that this there's this token here that has these cards on there. That allows you to do what's called an explore action. Explore actions allow you to take cards from the tableau that's up here, and I'll talk about cards here in just a little bit. And also, if you don't want to take a card that is shown, you can of course just take a card off the top of the deck, and I'll explain that more here in just a little bit. Here's a couple of places that are called tunnels, and just as you might assume, if you go into one tunnel, you can pop out of the other one, so it's just kind of like a quick teleportation there. Any of these places that are kind of dark here, these are considered to be traps, or just basically a hole in the ground. If for whatever reason you are forced into there because you haven't planned your movement really well, or by some action that a player has had against you, you will go back to the last checkpoint that you've gone through. Now you might be saying, what are the checkpoints? Well, the checkpoints are these here. Once you pass through those, you'll mark those checkpoints. You'll say that's the last one you went through. And then you can, if you do happen to fall in like a pit here, you won't have to go all the way back to the beginning, so to speak. So you can, like, get back on track relatively quickly. However, obviously falling in a pit's never a good deal. You'll notice there's also these water. Falling water you don't drown or anything like that. However, whirlpools will allow the players to spin their quad hero 90 degrees in one direction, whichever direction they wish to go. And you'll also see that there are some of these have like basically a current with an arrow. And if you end your movement on those, you will go one space in the direction of that current. You will see that there are walls on these locations, and you can't pass through walls unless you have some sort of special power that will allow you to do so. So they will block movement pretty obviously. And finally, there's these little cubes here. Like there's one right here, and there's one right here, and those are called planning cubes. And you'll see those that symbol a lot in this game. Planning basically allows you to change your setup of your quad hero when you make it. Now, once again, that's a little bit earlier than you're probably going to understand anything that we're talking about really quickly, but just keep that in mind that that's what that action is. There's one other thing. I was going to show you one of these. There wasn't one in this setup, but this is just a teleporter, and you'll see that there's this little six-sided die that's right there on the teleporter. When you land on a teleporter, you roll 1d6. And as long as you don't roll a 6, because a 6 causes the teleporter to explode and nothing happens, you will move the number that you rolled away from this teleporter up to 5, like 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 spaces away. And these come into play by use of cards or different actions that people have, and some of the setups will just have them on there as well. So that's some other things that you might run into as far as that's concerned. Alright, so now more to the point of, you notice that there's a player board here, and there's these other player boards here as well. Each quad hero has their own player board, and they come with their own kind of setup, their own quad hero, if you will, and also their secondary cube. This is the secondary cube, and here, why don't I just grab the other one of Forest Stump, if you will. Now these guys are awesome, I have to admit. So like each one of your quad heroes looks. Notice there's like a little stump there, and there's a little critter in there. Pretty cool, huh? But anyway, so here's your little quad hero, and this is obviously the nicer resin miniature there. But here is the secondary cube, and you notice it's the exact same thing. It's just not, of the resin. Now the reason why you have this is because you're going to be doing a lot of planning in this game, because of the fact that depending upon which side of the quad the hero is face up, that will determine the movement action that you get to take in that particular turn. Now once again, I'll explain those movement actions here in just a little bit, but the problem is, the reason why you have this is that, yeah, you can probably figure it out by looking at your character and saying, okay, but once you take the hero off, you might be like looking at it and trying to figure out which action is the right one you want to do, or which way you should go. And then by the time you put it back down, it's like, well, was I here? Was I there? Which side was up? Which side was down? So they give you this one, which is ingenious to basically have in your hand, so you can kind of plot it out. You can just replicate. So if you're in like this location, like right here, and he's face up, you can go ahead and you can take, yours, and you can match them up like this. Say, okay, so what am I going to do? You can actually then see what you're going to do by comparing the two of them. So pretty ingenious actually to include that. So, alright, so bottom line, the way this game works is that each person will take an action depending upon turn order. You do just roll a d6 to determine who's the first player. And depending on turn order, the first thing you do is, this is the main phase, and then there's the exploration phase. During the main phase, what you'll be doing is you will be playing cards before you move. You don't have to. You'll be playing cards after you move. You don't have to. But the thing you have to do is you have to move. So when you move, what's going to happen is that at the beginning of the game, everybody starts up and they have their cue on the top of them. The Q, if you can see here, is the Q power. Every character's got a Q power that has a different ability. The Q power, like for a stump, allows him to either do a plan or explore a pet. And by exploring a pet is basically you dig through it until you find a pet that you can take. And I'll talk about that. Pets are a type of card. I should explain that, but I will explain that a little further. You'll notice that like Ong Min has explore rune, plan. Q power has explore an item, plan. And then it says Q power is build or break a wall in plan for rock gem stalker there. So they're not all the same. So what you'll do is the first thing you have to do before you do any movement, before you do anything, is that you're going to tumble. And what that means is that you are going to move in one of the 4 cardinal directions, because a tumble is, you know, one of the orthogonal, not diagonal. There are things you can do that move you diagonal, but just keep in mind that a tumble is going to be like one of the orthogonal directions. Now, technically, if I was in the spot, I couldn't go like this or this, but But if you were here, you could go like that, and so forth. So that'd be one of the things. And then after you do the move, after you do the tumble, you look at the side of your hero that is face up, and you take the action that is present for that particular spot. So in this case, if you look here, you can see this is the back, and now it's a jump. So you're going to do a jump action. Now, as far as how far you move, it's determined by how many, I'll show you one of these actually, so I don't have to pick that one up. But it's determined by how many of these symbols you have. Like basically, this is the movement symbol. You notice in the scroll, you start with one of these movement symbols. You start with one of these card symbols. Now you're saying, well, how do I get more of those movement symbols? Well, that's a good question. You get to after you get through your turn, after everybody's gone. You will get to like upgrade your character, and I'll get to that in just a quick second after I show you the main phase. So in this case, it's a jump 1. So basically what a jump does is you get to skip a spot and jump. So you jump over that. Now, jumping obviously can be very helpful if you were next to, if you could time this somehow to basically make it so you could jump over a hole, so to speak. Now, you might notice that all of these are these different tiles that you place on. When you begin the game, you get to place the tiles onto the different sides of your hero, depending on what you think is the best option for you at that time. Now, the other things that you can do, I'll go through them here, is one is called a dash. So a dash is just, you can move in any of the cardinal directions. You'll notice that like it actually shows like that, and you'll just move them, and you can just continue moving. So if you had a movement total of 3, you could dash by going 1, 2, 3. So because you can change your movement up, and you can do those things. Now a tumble is just like, it's just, once again, you'll be doing the exact same thing. By tumbling, you'll move forward, or it could be extra movement as well. But then you're setting yourself up, and you're planning ahead to the next turn, because remember, you'll tumble off the top of the spot you are at, and you'll be wanting to like think about what is the next possible turn, what aside is going to be available for me when that happens. All right, so a diagonal slide is just what you can possibly think of. It's just exactly that. It's a diagonal slide, and you'll move to the things. Now, I should mention a couple quick things before I get any further. Dashing and tumbling, no matter what spot you tumble towards, or no matter what spot, when you dash, when you move through, you will activate the spot that you're at. However, with jumping and sliding, you only activate the spot you end up at is the last spot. So, for example, if I slid and to here, or if I started here and I slid to here, I technically wouldn't activate the first checkpoint, because technically I haven't been there. However, if I tumbled onto there, or if I dashed off there, then that would activate it. If I wanted to actually like make a slide work, I'd have to end up on that particular spot. just keep that in mind. That's a very important distinction, actually, as you're playing the game. So, diagonal sliding is just what you think. You slide in a diagonal direction. And then a normal slide is, once again, just what you think, sliding in one of the 4 orthogonal directions. So, that in a nutshell is how you're moving. Obviously, what you have to do is you have to plan ahead as far as how many spaces you're going to get to move, what type of movement you're going to be doing, and trying to get to the certain spots that will be, work out the best for you in those particular situations. Now, after that is done, you do the exploration phase, which means that for every one of the card symbols that you have here, and once again you're saying, well, how do I, there's only one there, but for every exploration card that you have, you'll be able to either take a card off the tableau up here or take a card off the top. Now, if you end up with more than 5 cards in your hand, you have to discard down to 5, and after you've upgraded your hero bit, you're going to be discarding down, because a lot of the cards are situational, and like you'll be holding on to ones that you're going to want to use for perfect situations. All right, so just showing you some of the quick cards. As I said, there are pets you can have. Like here's Rescupus, ignore pits and water, +1 diagonal slide skill. And you'll notice there's this little pin here. That means that he is permanent. So, and pets go on this side of your character sheet, and they'll stay there. Now, normally you can only have like the one pet, but sometimes you'll get like certain things that will allow you to have another one, such as well, actually, here, I'll show you this one. There is like, and this is what's called an item, as you can see here, and this is Tangentomatic, and it says you may jump diagonally, and as you can probably assume, you go ahead and you put that one right there as well. So there is like an item that you can have that allow you to have 2 pets, so there are things that can break the rules, if you will, but you can do that. There are also like certain things, like there are any card that has this little lightning bolt on there, that is an instantaneous, meaning that you can use it at any time. So this is a rune, and you can cancel a card or trash an item or pet from play. You can just go ahead and play this, and you can do that when it isn't your turn. Pretty simple. And then there's these food cards, and these with this little symbol up here means that you have to play them on your turn. So the red cow, +3 dash this turn. So this would be something like you play before you take your movement. So if you knew, like, dash here is the right side, so it's like that thing over there. So if my move or whatever, and I like how like the left side and right side, they made sure they put this like little like red dot there, so you can see that that's the right side. So if you had a situation where it was like, okay, and bam, so we rotate them over, we're going to activate dash, and then so like a dash is 1, but if we played red cow, we'd have a dash of 4, and so 1, 2, 3, 4, and you could go ahead and do that. So like it's something where you plan ahead with that. And then just one other thing you can see here is Swiftgrass juice, and then +2 to any movement skill. And as you can see, there is this giant deck, and you just go ahead and add these on, as these things get taken. I should mention that you don't replace them as you're taking the cards, so like you don't just get a bunch of new options for you if you're drawing cards, but after you've gone through your process of collecting your cards during the exploration, then you replace the spots. Now, I just want to show you this one actually, where this one would be something that could be useful both before or after your turn. It's a Quake rune, and you can rotate a board 90 degrees, and that means you actually are going to pick up a board, and so and you'll just you'd be careful not to spill anything, but you just pick up a board and you can rotate it 90 degrees like so. And so that might actually put somebody who is getting closer to a spot they're trying to get to, put them at a disadvantage. It might put you in a better spot, things like that. And it's kind of a fun way you can kind of mess with things as well. One other thing before I step into the actual upgrade part of your turn is that if another person ends up next to another person as they're moving, you are allowed to steal a card from them. You just pick one randomly from them and get to take them from you. Or if you're playing in a scenario where you're supposed to be collecting certain items or what have you, and this is really helpful doing cooperative ones, where you're able to just take that from them so you can like, and it's now yours. So just something to also like keep in mind. Like if you end up bumping into somebody, you can affect them and take a card from them. Now, all right. So after everybody's gone, you're gonna do what's called the upgrade, and the upgrade means is that down here on this little portion here, each person gets these little like little tiles that are upgrade tokens, and you can place these in any order. They are numbered 1 through 7, but you don't have to play them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. When it comes time to upgrade, what you're going to do is you're just going to take one and you're going to go ahead and you're going to place it on your spot like so. So in this case, you can see there, because I placed here, I'll actually show this a little closer up to you. So when you place that one there, you can see I've improved it. So now when it comes time to movement, I'm moving 2 movement. Now if you look at the back of it, it's blue, and so if you place that, you can see that it would actually give you 2 cards when you're doing the exploration. So there's both sides have a benefit, but you have to pick one when you place it on there. So, and some of them like are more involved. So like your Q action, like it says here, because when you tumble, if you tumble to the Q that's on there, like so, you tumble to the Q. Oh, and I should mention right now that if you ever are like fall into a pit and you're forced back to one of these spots, you do place your quad hero with the Q up. That's how you start out. But so like your Q action, rotate your board 90 degrees if you wanted to add that as a Q ability. And here's one, what says steal a pet, range of 7, then trash all others. And so you can steal somebody's pet. And I should also mention, whenever you're determining range, you determine it orthogonally. You do not do diagonally. So if you were trying to do that ability, you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm within range. I could steal that guy's pet with that ability. Now I like this one, where it says when you slide, build walls. And so like it actually tells you to turn over your slide. And so if you go ahead and you look, you're going to like basically this is an upgrade ability that like every time you do your slide action, you are going to take, and I apologize, here we have this giant thing here, and you have these wall tokens that you have in here that then you could actually build walls behind you as you slide. And obviously those would be very problematic for your opponents to have to get through. And technically, I guess they would be problematic for you as well. But, you know, you can go ahead and, you know, that's a little extra power, if you will. Now, here's one that's kind of neat. It says, like, tumble skill ignores walls. And so in this case, you take this one, and you notice that then all of a sudden you have ghost tumble. And so now when you're in a tumble, like, you notice how the walls won't affect you. And then that's like kind of a permanent ability. But as the game goes, you'll just add these on, you know, to here and slowly do your upgrades. And like, here's even one where you can, you know, start changing directions with your movement and things like that. And those are obviously, each time you play it, certain advantages or disadvantages will be better or worse depending upon the scenario and depending upon just like the stage of the game you happen to be in. And there's like a big question, like a lot of times, like when I played it a few times, I was like, do I quickly go for extra movement right away? Do I go for the abilities that give me the extra powers right away? You know, what do I do to like get myself set up to give myself the best chance to win? And I kind of like that. I kind of like that, you know, just because I played Forrest Stump, and I played Forrest Stump the last 3 times I played, and this was my favorite character, by the way, it didn't necessarily mean that Forrest Stump would have the same powers or abilities each time I played, because of the fact that, you know, it is a completely kind of malleable upgrade system as you go through. So, depending upon the scenario, like I said, this one is just a race. You're trying to get all the way around the board and back. In this case, the first person that does that would win the game. And, you know, but other scenarios that have different objectives will have, obviously, different goals, if you will. For example, here, just quickly, like showing you some of the other things in the book. Like here's the free-for-all questing. The mayor of Fringetown has put out a call for heroes to explore the ruins and complete 3 quests. Find a crystal, explore return with a
curious artifact and uncover what is located in a walled-off chamber. The first player to complete all 3 quests is the winner. 2 versus team Crystal Race. 1 versus 1 quest race. My daughter and I played this one quite a bit, actually. And, so there's different scenarios, as I said, within the book. Now, there's one last thing I didn't talk about that I'm just going to touch on briefly, is that depending upon whether whether the campaign or the resource, the setup or like whatever scenario you're going to be playing calls on it, there are these like world events, if you will. In this particular scenario, the world events does occur. And so at the beginning of each person's turn, like the first player's turn, and affects everybody, you turn one of these over and you have it. So, Secret Delivery. Each player explores a card from the top of the deck. So each person would get a card in that case. Each player chooses and takes a token type. Then each player gives that token to the player on their left. In turn order, each player places that token anywhere. So that could have been, that can be a teleporter, or that can be a pit, or that can be, one of these chance things. And remember, these are very important abilities, because that actually allows you to plan and change where these tiles are. And so when you get that, it's one of those things where you have to take a moment and once again kind of figure out what your quad hero is going to be doing, and then figure out which sides of your quad hero are going to be used, or which abilities you're gonna start up, and then make sure you have those in the right place. And judicious use of planning when you get to use it, especially with your Q power or just managing to hit one of these spots on the board, is definitely a super big key to victory, and something that when I played, I actually enjoyed the logistics part of that. Being able to kind of like figure out exactly, what my next 3 turns are probably going to be. Now, admittedly, other people are going to be able to mess with me and kind of make those 3 turns a little bit difficult for me. But, just being able to like kind of have an idea of what I was going to be doing and what I wanted to try to attempt, I liked this edition a great deal. So there you go. That is Quodd Heroes. I should give you a really good idea of how the game is played. If you I wouldn't say it's programmable movement. Somebody in my game group said it's kind of like chaotic programmable movement, and I had to kind of agree with that, because of the fact that there's a lot of people affecting what everybody else is doing, but you're not really programming it. When it comes to your turn, you kind of look at what your options are, and then you look at your cube, and you kind of see which side you want to go to, which ability do you want to use, and then go ahead and use that ability. This isn't a situation where you're like putting a bunch of cards out and you're saying, I'm going to be doing this, 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 and this in this order. It's more of, I'm going to be doing this turn, and I really hope somebody doesn't do, and hopefully the next turn after that, I'll be able to, do my slide, because that's exactly what I'll do, and hopefully nobody does anything to the board or does anything to me or gets in my way, and I'll still be able to do that. But it's kind of its own animal. It's that rarity of rarities that it seems to not be very common nowadays. It is a game that is got originality to it. And I'll talk, and I don't mean that games aren't original anymore, but let me explain that more actually in my final thoughts. Alright, thank you very much for taking the time to learn how to play Quodd Heroes. I hope the way I described it gives you a good taste of what the game entails. If you're interested, I encourage you to go ahead and check out the Board Game Geek page as well as the Kickstarter page. You can dive a little further into the different rules and also the different scenarios and what have you. Now, I mentioned the whole originality thing. Now, when I was told by the creator, back when they contacted me about doing this video, they said that he said I really feel like I've come up with an original mechanism, and I've said in previous videos before about games and stuff like that, where I've said I think this is an original idea, and like usually somebody pipes up and tells me, whether in person or in comments or what have you, no, there was this game that came out and this, that, and the other thing, and it had 7 copies in Newfoundland, and it had the exact same power or ability. And maybe this whole tumbling aspect exists out there. I haven't seen it before, but it was something that really spun me on my ear. As I said, it's something where
I love games that make me think. I love games that make me try to figure out exactly, what, and I hate saying programmable. I don't want to say that because this isn't a programmable movement game, as I said. I love games that make me try to think ahead, but think ahead with multiple possibilities. It's one thing to say, okay, I need to collect this resource, then I'm going to go there, and I'm going to turn that resource into that, then I'm going to go there, and I'm going to turn that in, and I'm going to earn a bunch of points, for doing that. That's like like a logistical ABC that, like, I've played tons of, like, Euros that have that in there, and I like those. I like being able to figure that out on my own, and then make that plan and then enact it. This is a game that, once again, you're using this cube, the cube that lets you kind of plan everything. This one for me is like, I would sit there and I'm playing it and I'd be like, okay, this, and then I'd be like that, and I'd be like looking at the board where I think that I'd end up, and I'd be like, okay, then I'm gonna go like that, and that's gonna let me do this, and then I'm also thinking, okay, and I'm gonna use this upgrade tile at the end of my turn to make myself, better at movement, or I'm going to give this so I have ghost tumbling or something, and so I can put those certain actions together, and then I'm already like kind of in my mind, seeing where my pieces are going to be. And that kind of took me a little bit back, as far as not totally different game, obviously, but it took me a little bit back to my old chess club days in high school, where like I would envision what the battlefield would look like, 2, 3, 4, even 5 turns later, depending upon what I thought my opponent would do. Now, this is a game where obviously there's a lot more chaos going on, and there's a lot more different people running around. There's different tokens that are being placed on the board through actions and what have you. So it's one of those things where, the board can change. Like if somebody decides to slap like a bunch of walls down in front of me, or put a pit trap in front of me, or a teleporter, or a spring, or all these different things that connect to defend me. There's actually, and I didn't show you these, and I apologize, but there's actually turrets that you can do. That it's kind of fun. Like they're cannons. So like, and then the cannon, like the actual cannon that shoots, it will it'll do like it'll act like a wall. But there's actually like a button that if you can land on the button, the cannon will shoot, like an ice cannon or what have you. And then it actually spits out this ball that'll race out, and if it strikes you or something, it'll actually, like impede your movement and do other things as well. And so it's just almost like a Rube Goldbergian kind of thing going on with the battlefield, with the chase or whatever. And it makes for an extremely chaotic game. Now, a friend of mine, was like, there's lots of different, like I said, programmable movement games out there. Like Robo Rally, of course, is like the big one, and a lot of, I can see people are going to compare it to that. Especially the race ones. Because of the fact of like it does change. You have the water places that'll force you to go certain ways. Whirlpools will cause you to turn and things like that. So I can see comparisons, but this is, in so many ways, its own animal. It is its own thing, and it's really like something I haven't played before. It dips its toes into lots of other games and lots of other experiences that I've had, that I've played games with. But this really, really is like something completely new to me. And that, after playing as many games as I have, whenever I find a game that does that gives me that new, fresh feel, like I haven't seen this before, I get really, really excited, because those are the games that keep coming back off my shelf, getting placed on the table, and keep getting played. And so, if you like these kinds of, I can't even say these kinds of games, if you like these kinds of games, if you've watched this and you think this is something intriguing and something interesting, I strongly suggest you check this out and consider backing it. So there you go. I mean, the game, obviously, it looks fantastic. I love the miniatures. I love the presentation. They've definitely put a lot of thought into the game and making it, like, this could be an extremely confusing game. It could be like, oh my gosh, like, which side of my cube do I want to use and how do I use it? It could have been a nightmare to kind of like puzzle through and figure out how to play. But, and I'll fully admit, the first time I played it, I did have a lot of head-scratching moments. But after you played it, after you kind of got it going, it does
just kind of fall into place. The little, all the little pegs fall in the right holes, and the game moves along really quickly, and it's a lot of fun. If my 9-year-old going on 10-year-old daughter could figure it out and play it, I think anybody can. So, I mean, and, admittedly, she's advanced as far as, because she's the one who plays all these games with me, but she really liked it, and she really dug me and her going at it one-on-one. And of course, we fought over Forrest Stump, because that's her favorite character, too. But anyway, there you go. That is Quodd Heroes. If you have any questions about it, ask away. I'll be happy to answer those as best as I can. Thank you, as always, for taking the time to watch this video. And until next time, I'm the Undead Viking, and I'm telling you to have yourself one heck of an awesome day. All right, bye-bye.